Hey everyone, welcome to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. I'm Melissa Albers.
And I'm JJ Parker. This podcast is for seekers of happiness, joy, and a centered approach to success in life. Seekers of their true, authentic selves.
Get ready for some real talk on everything from anxiety, emotions, and habits to love, compassion, and forgiveness. We know you'll be challenged and enlightened by this conversation, and we're so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
All right, Melissa, you know what I'm sick and tired of?
Whoa, I can't wait to hear.
People apologizing. That sounds funny, but...
It does sound funny.
Don't apologize near me.
Ever, for any reason.
Well, there's been like a bunch of times recently, and even not so recently, where people just like say I'm sorry, like in spots where like I don't think they're sorry, in spots where they're just trying to make me feel better.
Oh, like a passive aggressive move.
Kind of like that, or like things like a year ago, I had like a big deal fall through at work, and people like apologized. They're like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that deal fell through." I'm like, "What are you talking? Why are you sorry?" And actually, it's not that big of a deal, and it's gonna come back around. You know, like my perspective on the situation was
completely different.
Totally fine. This is course of business. This stuff happens. I mean, I've seen it so many times. It's just like I'm not too concerned about it. But the way people reacted towards that news, they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Nothing to be sorry about.
You know, people do the same thing when you hear someone's divorced. It's a natural reaction to say, "Oh, I'm sorry." Where that person might be going,
there's like
"Are you kidding?"
There's another case, right? Their perspective is like, "What do you mean you're sorry?
I'm not happy, but I'm so relieved."
But I see this too at work, like in small ways too. Like something will go like a little bit wrong, or something won't go as expected, and people will be apologizing, or someone will be late for a meeting, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late." Like,
well, that's not a bad thing.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it really got me thinking about, like, what does apologizing do, like, to the person apologizing, like, to yourself, like,
oh, this is,
and so, like, why are we
using,
why are we using, like, I'm sorry in the ways that we do?
Oh, interesting.
So.
Oh, I have some ideas on this. This is such a good topic. I love it.
I mean, and I'm not saying that aren't legitimate reasons to apologize to somebody or say I'm sorry, because there totally are.
Well, yes, of course. And there are right ways and wrong ways to apologize in legitimate scenarios, too, which would be interesting to talk about. I wonder if a person's relationship with saying I'm sorry is also directly tied to the person's self-esteem.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, because I think, and ego. So self-esteem and ego, you know, because I think you can overuse that phrase, which is where you're coming from, like overused it or using it in places that it doesn't really make sense. But then you also have the places where there really is a warranted saying I'm sorry, and you just won't or can't. So there is a spectrum on this, which I love how when we talk about things, it's amazing to find out how many things really are there are on a whole broad path.
So when I was thinking about saying I'm sorry, like there's definite spots where like you feel guilty, like you did something.
Yes.
That was maybe like insensitive or wrong or inconsiderate, and you want to apologize to somebody, right?
Right.
So
exactly.
Like, I forgot your birthday. I'm sorry.
Yes. But, and that's one I'm very used to because I forget everybody's birthday, and that's a thing. And every time I am legitimately sorry.
And there you're just trying to like recognize your own behavior, right? Like, and tell somebody like, hey, I hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't intend to do that. There's like a bunch of social reasons why you maybe apologize.
Right, exactly.
I think that, like, sometimes you apologize in a group, but you maybe don't mean, maybe you wouldn't normally, but, like, because other people are around, you don't want to, like, come off as a jerk.
Right, you're trying for social acceptance.
Yeah.
Or certainly you're trying to not stand out as being a problem child or a troublemaker or poking the bear. For
sure. And then another thing that I actually read once was in other cultures, like the United States might, I don't know, I'd love someone to have some perspective on this, but like we seem to apologize a lot. If you go to a different culture, like I read this this book about doing business in Russia, in the former Soviet Union, right? Like, and they were saying that like people in that part of the world, because a majority of their time was spent in like a communist kind of culture, they didn't have any good personal motivation to be friendly to other people. Right? Like they were gonna like have housing and food no matter what. Right. So they didn't have to be friendly to other people. Which actually caused them that, not that they're unfriendly people, they're quite friendly people. They just aren't friendly to strangers because it didn't benefit them in any way. Right. Unlike the United States, is like if you were the local banker, you needed to be friendly to everyone, even if you didn't like them, because it benefited you in our capitalistic society.
So are you thinking that saying you're sorry has something to do in the same line as this? That's very interesting.
Yes. I think it's a cultural conditioning thing.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, don't you think there's like there's depths of sorry? Like if you just say I'm sorry as part of your vernacular, you know, like, hey, how's it going? Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
How you doing? Sorry about that.
Well, you know those people, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like if sometimes it's just too much part of like the like flow of conversation. It's like, we won't get into it, but it's like my other most hated phrase, how's it going?
I know it.
Like, I don't know how it's going. Are you asking like for today or my whole life? Because sit down.
I really don't want you to ask me because it makes me highly uncomfortable. So are you saying that if somebody says they're sorry to you, that makes you feel just as uncomfortable as someone asking you, how are you?
I think so.
No, really? All right. Well, that's interesting.
Not quite.
Okay. Well, I actually, the way that I think about this a little bit is there are you can feel when someone is sincere when they're saying they're sorry, right? You can feel that. And I think that what you're talking about is the insincere variety of sorry, in which it feels more like they're just making conversation. And I don't like any conversations that are at that level anyway. I don't like surface conversation. I have a hard time actually with small talk surface conversations. I'm not good at that. Even though I'm an extrovert, I don't enjoy just like shooting the breeze with no goal.
Yeah.
And I put that I'm sorry into that category too. You see that in workplaces, you see that in groups and teams of people. You also see it just out and about, like in retail situations, or if you're shopping or whatever at the grocery store, you know. Although I feel, JJ, like there's a lot of that's starting to be missing. So I actually think,
you think maybe we're going too far the other way?
I do. I do. Isn't that interesting? And I actually wonder if our perspectives on apologizing has to do with our level of assertiveness and ego. Because for me, I'm getting so much better at it now. I'm so much better at it than I was. But I was terrible. Oh,
you're better at apologizing than you were. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Oh.
I have gotten much better at that. And, I mean, I had such a difficult time saying I'm sorry when I was younger. Such a difficult time. And
yeah, because in one way, it's an admittance that you're wrong.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
In some
yes.
way. And you
yes.
don't want to be wrong.
Right, exactly. Now I'm getting used to it because I've had a lot of practice. Practice so much being wrong. But I do think, you know, we talk about this on a spectrum sort of, and I do feel like common good and common decency does include sometimes apologizing, if merely to make the other person feel better. So like sometimes you're apologizing even if you didn't think you did anything, but someone else thought you did. That's the more difficult scenario in my mind. You know, you took the last whatever bag of chocolate chips at the grocery store right before another person wanted it.
Insert all of my previous examples of parenting. Right? Like the kids are the worst at that. Like you'd be like, "Hey, dude, you took the last granola bar and you left the empty box in the counter."
Right.
Sorry. It's like that's like emptiest sorry ever. You're not sorry.
You're not sorry. I'm mad. I'm still mad. Oh my gosh. Well, you've got your surface sorries, but what about the sorries legitimately? If somebody feels like you've wronged them, or you inadvertently were rude or insensitive, or not you, we as a collective, and somebody, you can feel that somebody's upset about it. That's different, right? Like then, do you say sorry first, or what if that person is, this is very complicated. So what if the person is somebody who feels like she's being wronged all the time? And you feel that about the person. Like, this person is always feeling like the victim, for example, right? And then you feel obligated to say you're sorry around that person more.
Yes. It is complicated.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're more...
What I think what I was coming at initially is that, like, because I'm sorry is, in my view, too overused in situations where it doesn't need to be used, then it becomes, like, kind of watered down when you really are sorry and you really do want to use it to show, like, your emotions over something. But if it gets too watered down and too used in everyday conversation, it loses its meaning. Yeah.
Well, yes, that's true. But I am still going to hold to that this is not a conversation about analytics. This is a conversation about feelings. This is a conversation about feelings because...
Well, let me get my sorry spreadsheet out.
Because I do think you can feel the person immediately. You know, you're reading people's energy immediately. And even if they bumble up overusing or underusing any phrase, the feeling behind the person is what really we want to pay attention to.
Yeah. So, like in your example where you weren't apologizing when you were younger.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about, like, the ego part of that.
Yeah.
But I've seen people that are kind of over-apologizers. And it definitely comes across as, like, kind of insecure or...
Weak. It feels weak.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not saying you should not apologize for anything.
No,
I hear you.
If you go too
far on the other side...
I agree.
And if it comes across... And my question was, if it comes across as kind of insecure externally, how does that feel for that person internally?
Oh, yeah. I hear you. See,
because I'm really, like, I really do think, like, our language shapes the way we think. So if you're using certain words too much, it's actually going to shape the story that you're telling yourself. Okay.
That's very interesting. Again, I have to think that this is tied somehow to a personality perspective. The reason I say that is because, like, if you look at being assertive, for example, that construct, the opposite of that is, you know, being very deferential. If you have a highly assertive person, how likely will they be to apologize for the many ways that they're too assertive, for example? You know, if you're too deferential, I think it's very common to throw yourself on the sword. Because, you know, for social accommodation or what have you.
So Do you think this is just a wiring thing? Like people are just kind of more wired one way or the other?
I think that's a huge part. I think that is a huge part, is your natural wiring. And then I think that the second part that's huge, there's probably a whole bunch of other things sprinkled in here, but the second part that I think is huge in this is your own sense of self, and if you have confidence in yourself. So even if you're a more deferential person, but you feel very calm and comfortable in your skin, it's easy for you to apologize, and it's easy for you to say nothing when somebody should apologize and they're not, because you're not weighing everything on how you look, even if you are a very deferential person. So I think it's two things. I remember when I was in high school, I had a biology professor, Mr. Connor. I loved this guy. He was an old Army medic. And this was back in the day where we could do like blood testing and everything in the unit in high school. Yeah. So we were doing like finger pricks, and testing blood types and all this other stuff on slides. And I worked back in his lab. I was a lab assistant for all these things. And he was he scared people because he was so kind of blunt and a little gruff, but he had a real dry sense of humor, which I apparently thought was hilarious. And turns out I ended up marrying a biology professor, but that's a separate story. But I remember Mr. Connor, one time something happened in the classroom, and I had so much respect for him. Something happened in the lab, and I think I was kind of sarcastic or something in front of other people to him. And for most high schoolers, it would have been a total non-event. Nobody would have even thought twice about it. Well, it ate at me. It ate at me. It ate at me. And about 3 hours later, I asked to be excused from my English class, and I went to his door and knocked on his door. And I remember being terrified. I remember my knees were shaking. And I knocked on his door, and he opened the door, and as soon as he saw me, he just got very straight-faced. And I just said, "I'm so sorry that I was like that, and I just wanted to come and tell you." And he looked at me, he said nothing, and then he said, "Thank you," and shut the door.
What? Wow.
But I was like, okay, I had that coming. Like, I had that coming. Like, in that situation, I knew I needed to apologize. And even being, 16, 17 years old, it just ate at me. So and other people, would they have thought that was that big of a deal? Probably not. So I think a lot of it has to do with how you see yourself and how you play in your world. That's what you were saying. Some people over apologize all the time because they think it's the way that is the way to show respect for the team. I'll apologize first. I'll make all this go away if I apologize. I don't want there to be a family discord. I'll just say I'm sorry, even if I've done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And that to me is what you're talking about. Like, that's going to an opposite end.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are a lot of, almost you can use "I'm sorry" in that way where you're trying to smooth things over.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or you're just trying to make the peace. It's like a very people pleaser kind of approach.
Yeah.
You can use it to kind of be like avoiding the actual feelings.
Right.
You can kind of dismiss feelings by just saying like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then just trying to move on from it.
Yeah.
Instead
absolutely.
of actually diving into what the problem was.
Right. The other thing is that people can use sorry, I think, as a weapon. As a very passive-aggressive, well, I'm sorry, Oh,
yeah.
Like, well, I'm sorry that you don't see it the way that it actually is. Right? So that's a thing, too, is like using it in a controlling way to win an argument or to one-up somebody.
Yeah. Wow, so many great uses of this word.
Sarcasm, I think, is a really, really scary thing when you couple it with sorry. Because I think it does weaponize something that is meant to not be weaponized.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a really good call out.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, like on the more assertive pass, when you look on the more strong personality, the more bold, where there can almost be some arrogance, if somebody's really high on that scale, then if they're legitimately sorry for something and they know how to communicate that, boy, it's so powerful. But if they use it to, again, get their agenda met, that's sad. Because it ends up being very controlling. And I would say that when I was younger, in my early 20s, I was just had a tough time, I think, in my early 20s. And I would say I used that much more as a way of almost self-deflection instead of authenticity. I would say almost like, well, I'm sorry that you think that, like to win an argument, using it as a tool to win an argument, and therefore just completely dismissing the person's real feeling. By looking like I wasn't.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty
like
common,
you said,
actually.
kind of like protecting your own ego too.
Right.
Okay, so what would you say are like some approaches, kind of both, like on both ends of the spectrum? If you're like really assertive, if you're not, like, how would you reframe saying I'm sorry in some different like situations? Well,
because we know that I have a much higher level of assertiveness on the personality scales, because I always laugh about it, tease myself about it now, which thankfully I'm at that stage of life. Do you know what? The way that I now do apology is if it's something that I don't feel good about, even if the other person may not notice or the other person doesn't feel bad, or if I've hurt somebody's feelings, I do try to just say, just walk up to the person, and without any extra softness or any extra lining feathering the nest with a bunch of extra stuff, I will just say, I'm really sorry that I said that. It wasn't very sensitive of me, and I apologize. So I just I just try to be really authentic and not make any excuse. Obviously there's ways of making apologies without saying, but, and next time, don't. It's just I'm really sorry that I did that. I'm really sorry I hurt your feelings, or whatever it is, as specific as you can call out. Now, for the more accommodating person, what do you think? How do you think you could reframe those examples that you were using at the beginning?
Well, so like a really easy example is like if you're late for a meeting, lots of people say like, I'm sorry I'm late. And that's, again, kind of like one of those thinner like apologies. Yes. But I like to reframe that as like, thanks for your patience. Don't apologize for being late. Be appreciative of the other person being patient. If you're talking a lot, like instead of like, sorry, I'm been babbling on, thank you for listening, right? Like, you can reframe your thing you're kind of like apologizing for as something appreciative of the other person. Why are you laughing?
Because that's a totally accommodating person move right there. Don't call out what actually happened. Just defer it to something nice.
Speaking of two ends of the spectrum, here we've got like examples.
But I didn't mean to laugh. I did not mean to laugh. I am sorry I laughed at you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. I think it's an interesting phrase, I'm sorry, and I think it is definitely something that is worth exploring in your own self. I actually think being apologetic is a skill. I think it's a skill, and I think it's a skill worthy of consistent development. I think that we are at times get sloppy and lazy. At times we become dismissive of other people's feelings because we are triggered about something. I think we become dismissive about situations and all those kinds of things, where a little empathy can go a long way. And saying I'm sorry first is so powerful to show the other person that you care. In situations where you overuse I'm sorry as part of your language, I think it would be a really good thing to ask yourself why. Why am I doing that? And is there something is there something that I'm trying to cover up or deflect? Because I'm not ready. I'm not ready to face that in myself, you know? Yeah. So I think it's an interesting topic.
I love these conversations where you and I come at it like 180 degrees apart.
I knew too. It doesn't happen very often.
Did you enjoy this episode? Please go to your favorite podcast platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review so others can discover it as well. Growing self-awareness is a lifelong journey, and it's better when we're all in it together. Please think of someone you know who could benefit from hearing today's conversation and share this episode with them.
We can't thank you enough for listening. Until next time, happy exploring.